Dear brothers, it's about quality, not quantity.
So guys, it should be your conversation, the way you flow, your presence is enough for a woman to want to be around you, not how much money you spend.
Dear sisters, it's about knowing your value.
My sisters out there, don't be afraid to scare a guy off just because you have standards.
Dear brothers, dear sisters, it's time to come together.
Ho! Back in the studio with the DBDS brothers. It's your man Mo Mel Money. Hit them up. Mel Money, your mic is disconnected. Hold on a second. We got technical difficulties. Look like your mic's not connected, brother.
All right,
there we go. Now we got you.
We got DBDS people.
Hold on, I gotta take that from the top, man. Boom! Back in the DBDS live studio. This your man Mo Mel Money. Hit him up.
Listen, welcome to another edition of DBDS Live. Welcome to the show. We got a fantastic round of great guests coming on the show. But before we get started, we're going to tell you about the mission statement. So we promote thoughtful relationship topics on social media, our live show, and other outlets to help people to become a better version of themselves. We want people to embrace love, respect, and loyalty. And if you become a better version of yourself, that means you'll have a healthier relationship with your significant other. Healthy relationships create healthier families. Healthier families create healthier communities. So welcome to the show, my peoples.
Yo, today we got a crazy show. It's going to be amazing. We are talking about keeping your relationship brand new. Let me tell you one thing, man. It's hard enough to get in a relationship. So if you're lucky enough to even find somebody that you can be in a relationship with, you should be prepared to know how to keep that relationship brand new so it'll last, so it'll sustain for as long as you want it to sustain, you know? Word. So today we got some amazing guests that we're going to bring into the studio today. Right now, this man has been on the show before. We're going to bring in my man Henry Bien-Aime from Connecticut. What's up, Henry?
Hey.
There we go. You guys got me?
Yes, we got you loud and clear, baby. How you doing, Henry?
I'm good, brothers. What's going on?
Oh, man, it's all good. We ready for a dynamic show, man. Let the people know who you are, all about you. Run that resume.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me on the show once again. My name is Henry Bien-Aime. I currently am a producer at iHeartRadio in Connecticut, in Hartford, and in New Haven. I am also a podcast producer. I have produced shows such as Real and Raw with Dr. B, which is my pastor, Dr. T.C. Brantley, who is out of Restoration Springs Interdenominational Church, where I am a minister as well.
Yes. Thank you, man. We really appreciate you for being on the show. Y'all, if y'all haven't seen Henry spit, don't worry about it. It's going to be live. Watch. You'll see what I mean. I'm telling you right now. So look, we got another guest. We still waiting for her. She'll be here in a second. It's looking like she got some technical difficulties, but we're going to bring her in the studio when she shows up. For now, I'm bringing it to Mel Money. Mel Money, go ahead and kick this off.
Hey, so before we get started, you know, we usually have a section called the anonymous section, and pretty much is based on when people have issues in their relationships. So I'm going to just share with you a story about a particular situation. So here's the story. So hello, I'm in the middle of an honest to God relationship crisis. I met my husband about a year ago. He's 5 years younger than me and very hip, and I was very attracted to him. I was so infatuated with him before we got married based on how he came across at the beginning. I understand as a man, you must handle your business as long as you include me in the journey, and which he did. My man used to spend quality time with me, bring me roses here and there, make passionate love, take spontaneous vacations, and so forth. Now, everything seems like a distant memory, even though I communicated this to him. From Wednesday to Sunday, he always looks forward to hanging out with his friends to the club, but he claims it's networking. Not to sound shallow, but I still keep myself up, not only for myself, but to look good on his arms. One day I brought him the classic gold handcuffs and arranged a getaway vacation at a ski resort to get our freak on. However, he turned down my offer and said he already made plans with his boys Tyrone, Ray Ray, and Dante to hit up the night scene. I'm losing my patience. What can I do to turn this around and bring our romance back to how it used to be?
Wow, my goodness. Are you kidding? He turned down that golden handcuffs, man. Oh my gosh. Listen.
Man, listen.
All I can tell you listen, all I can tell you is this. Something went wrong, but I know I want to bring in one of our experts here. I'm gonna bring in Henry. Henry, man, help us with this situation. Something is just not right, brother. Help me out, please.
Here's what's wrong. If you go back and listen to what Brother Terrell was talking about, what did she say in particular? She said she was infatuated with him. She specifically used the word infatuated. She didn't say she loved him. She didn't say this is what I loved about him. She said she was infatuated. And so what that means is that she was in love with the physical and not the spiritual. She was in love with the material. She was in love, not even in love. She was attracted to what was on the outside. She was attracted to the material things. She was attracted to the glitz and the glamour, but she didn't get any substance out of him. Because if she did, she'd have realized that this guy wasn't going to change the way he was. He was like that from the beginning. And now you didn't figure this out until halfway in the middle of the book. And now you're trying to change the end of the story. The problem is that the book was already written before you got there. You just didn't bother to read it.
That's hot. That's hot.
I told y'all, hey, four fire emojis. Can y'all throw some fire emojis up right there? Hey, Mel Money, what you say, man?
Before we get started, man, we got Jess waiting. You know what I'm saying? So let's bring her into the conversation as well.
All right, we're gonna bring our other special guest, Jess, into the conversation. What's up, Jess?
Hey, y'all.
Yeah, we're glad you could make it.
Everybody.
Worked out those difficulties. Welcome to the show.
Yes.
Listen.
Thank you.
Before we move on any more, I just want you to give the people, talk to the people, let them know who you are, where you're from, and all that. Hit them up.
Well, my name is Jessica. They call me Taitu, which is an Ethiopian background, means the sun. Originally from Florida, but lived in the District of Columbia for over 10 years. I'm a former Miss DC 2009. I'm a mother, philanthropist, car enthusiast, hustler, all the whole 9 yards. And I am actually a graduate of DBDS. And that's the reason why I'm here today, because these two men right here, if it had not been for that book, if it had not been for the steps going into the friend zone, intimacy zone, to the physical, and meeting Mel years ago when I was going through all the craziness I was going through, I wouldn't have got as far as I got now. So I just want to say thank you to you guys, because the process does work if you actually stick to it. And you don't, you commit to it. So I'm an alumni. I graduated. So
Hey, everybody toast.
I got my
Everybody toast, man.
I'm giving y'all yes, your glasses for everybody.
Thank you. We really appreciate that, Jess. Hey, so
I'm about to go get a glass of water in a minute.
Hey, we're just here talking about we had Mel give us this crazy scenario. I don't know if you heard it, Jess, but if you're here, we can move on. But it was about Mel, you want to just do it like a quick recap so we can get Jess' take on it? Quick recap.
Yeah, quick recap. So, the brother, have a woman here. She's in a midlife crisis. She met her husband about a year ago when she's been infatuated with him at the very beginning, and he was treating her like a queen at the very beginning. But all of a sudden, now my brother just want to go to the night scene club Wednesday through Sunday. And he just want to hang out with Tyrone, Ray, and Dante. He don't want to spend no time with his woman at all, even though that she proposed to him, hey, let's go to a nice ski resort and have like some gold handcuffs that we can get our freak on to try to get that spark back. But he turned it down and he ended up calling Tyrone.
Oh, man. So So now he'd rather spend time with his friends than spend time with her. And then I guess my question is, how did this whole thing start out? And what was she doing in the beginning to make sure that they was even compatible in that way? Because if he was just all into her body and the out exterior and didn't really know what she wanted, and she wasn't communicating that. We're going into the zones now, the friend zone. Did she take out the time to really get to know this brother? And now she's made some sort of commitment. So now she's trying to backtrack when you can't do that. You're already head in, and you didn't take out those steps. So now he's gonna hang out with his boys, and you just gonna stay at home looking you lonely now because you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
And that is exactly what today's show is about, keeping your relationship brand new. See, something went wrong, something broke. Right. And they did not follow the passionate steps that you need to follow to keep your relationship brand new, keep everybody interested. Right. So look, we're gonna run into some of our comments here. We're gonna talk about some of our subjects here, and we're gonna go right into it. So again, the topic is keeping your relationship brand new. So one way that I know what people have to do to keep their relationship brand new is they have to love themselves. Okay, y'all gotta love yourself, man. You know, that's one of the most important things. I'm gonna give you my little analogy of why you gotta love yourself. Okay, and this means being comfortable with who you are and being happy with your partner, but it also means putting yourself first. Right. Here's my analogy of putting yourself first. Everybody out there has probably been on a plane once in their lives. When you get on a plane and you sit in your seat and you buckle up, before the plane takes off, the stewardess comes in the middle, or stewardess comes in the middle, and they give you the safety instructions. And first thing they say is, hey, if there's an emergency, a bag of oxygen to drop, what you got to do is put your mask on first and then help somebody else. Why do they say put your mask on first? The reason is you got to take care of yourself first in order to take care of somebody else, because if you don't do that, you may not be able to take care of somebody else. Love yourself. So now I'm going straight to Jess. Jess, what's your take on this information? What you think?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take time to know you. And I feel like if you're out there always trying to search for gratification or validation from other people, you always are gonna just seek that, and you're never gonna know what you want. And it's a deeper thing, and you got to spend time with yourself. And I feel like people don't really take out that time to say, okay, let me regroup, let me put myself in my personal rehab, because rehabilitation is not just what this structure we think of going in for, like some sort of sickness or someone's on drugs. Sometimes we need rehab from people. We need to cut ourselves off from social media. We need to cut ourselves off from toxic people and sit and really think about, what am I doing? How can I change these patterns, these habits, and how can I love myself? And I did that in the year of 2018. I was broken. I got out of an abusive relationship, and I had to take out the time for self-love, and I cut off my social media. I have over 24K followers, thousands of pictures of me in bathing suits and all this stuff. I cut off all that stuff. I cut off people, toxic friends, toxic men, no more DM, all that stuff. And I said, who am I? Who am I? I've been a model. I did all these things, but who is Jessica? What validates me? You know, I'm not going to Nordstrom trying to validate this car. I need to validate it myself. And that's writing down. Even Mel told me, like, just writing down some things that you like to do. And I started going out in the world and just doing things by myself. And I started figuring out what makes me feel good, what brings me joy. Because there's a difference between joy and happiness. Happiness can be temporary. Happiness can be materialized. But then what is this self-joy, that this gratification that I get out of just maybe sitting canoeing or hiking. And I go hiking now and just watch the sun set, or listening to motivational speakers or reading something. You got to invest in yourself. You got to have that growth, and you got to learn to love yourself and learn to love your body too. Because I feel like a lot of girls were always comparing ourselves to what somebody else looks like. You don't know, that could be Photoshop where somebody took a trip out to get that fixed. Like, this is you. This is the raw you. You got to love your body for who it is. Love the way you look. Love the way you communicate. Love the way you speak. Love the way you dress. Love the way you think. You may be weird. It's okay. So you got to take out the time to sit and love yourself and tell yourself. You can even communicate. I'm in the house. I tell myself, I love me. I sit in the mirror.
Yeah.
Love yourself. You just love yourself, don't you? It sounds crazy, but it's real. Because if you don't tell yourself that, there are a billion other people who tell you they don't care about you. But you got to
Right
tell
on.
yourself you care about you.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Henry, my man, we gotta love ourselves, man, so we can keep these relationships healthy and brand new.
I'm going to take a quote from the Hall of Fame wide receiver Terrell Owens when he said, "I love me some me." Okay, so if you can't love you, how is somebody else supposed to love you? If you don't know who you are. In church, we sing a song, "I know who I am," and that's the key. You have to know who you are as a person. You have to know what makes yourself tick, because if you don't know who you are, then what that means is that you're going to allow the world to define you.
Whew. Mel Money, what's your thoughts on this one, brother?
Well, it's true. I mean, I agree with Jess. I agree with Henry. I agree with you as yourself, Mo. But love yourself. This is like right here the most important element of all, because if you can't love yourself, then you can't love your significant partner, and that person can't naturally give you the love and affection you desire. But what some people fail to understand is that self-love creates boundaries, it sets standards, and allows you to be, I'll say, your authentic self, which people should love your authentic self, and you're not creating like this false advertisement image at the beginning that most people do in order to try to attract that particular person. And when you come across like as a fake person, later on it's going to be seen from other people because it's going to be visible based on your actions and your words. And since this brother in the letter that I wrote at the beginning should have carrying himself as a leader in a relationship, this will create a dysfunctional mindset, which will then reinforce a dysfunctional relationship that's functional until it's too late and the relationship will run its course due to these false beliefs. I will say, last thing I want to say, also keep in mind that this puts a man in a mother and child relationship as well as a woman in the father and child relationship, because that particular person is an empty vessel relying on emotional dependency, depleting their partner's love energy. So I believe that the purpose of all relationships starts with self-love. So that way you can give your authentic self to that person and it'll elevate the relationship.
Boom. I hope y'all was listening, man. My people was spitting fire up here. Hope y'all took notes. We're going to dive right into this next subject. We're still talking about how to keep your relationship brand new. Now we're about to go into the next topic, which is communication, effective communication. Okay, communication comes up in a lot of different spaces, man. It's always going to come up because it's one of the most important things you can do. And when you talk about effective communication, you talk to your partner about your feelings. I know the brothers got a hard time with that. We just not built like that, man. I'm just tell you straight out. We're not built like that. But, you got to try to get through somehow, figure out your way to do that. You know what I mean? I can't tell you what to do for you. I figure out what I got to do for me. You figure out what you got to do for you. But you got to talk about your feelings. You got to ask questions. You got to get answers. If you're upset, you need to let people know. Don't go to the anger zone so quick. You know what I'm saying? Talk to people. Try to talk it out. Try to get that out of you so you don't have to end up getting angry, It's not all about how it's more about how you deal with your problems more than the problem itself. Okay, so you figure that out and you communicate. So now I'm gonna come right back to you, Henry. I want to get your inputs on, effective communication can keep your relationship healthy and brand new. Talk to me.
I like how you put that. You said effective communication, meaning that the communication cuts straight right into the heart of the subject. Okay, when you communicate with somebody, we can all communicate. We can all use words to say how we feel. But effective communication talks about two sides of communication. Somebody has to talk, somebody has to listen. Now, I work in radio by trade. I'm a podcast producer by trade. And one of the things I tell people, and Mo can attest to this, because when he came on our show, I tell people, say what you want to say in the amount of time that you want to say it, the way you want to say it, and when you're done, stop talking, because now it's your chance to listen. So it's one thing to be able to speak to somebody to tell you how they feel, but you also have to understand the other side of that. You have to be able to listen. You seek to understand, then be understood.
Before I go to Jess, I want to emphasize that, because here's the thing. When people think communication, they think output, right? Output. Nah. See, the deal is this. These two things right here, that's part of effective communication. You got to listen, people. You got to take it in. You got to process it before you give your output. Okay, coming to Jess, what you got to say on this? Effective communication. Keep your relationship brand new.
Picking up on these two guys here, I mean, I realize there's a difference between hearing somebody and listening to somebody. Because a lot of times somebody can say, I can hear you, but they didn't really listen to what you were saying. So there's a big difference on that. And effective communication, I mean, communication to me is a lost art form, and people don't even know it's a sort of art form. So there's different ways of communicating, but I feel like it's so important, especially in the earlier stages. We're talking about dating, we're talking about keeping things fresh and new. You got to know how to talk to your partner. You got to know different outlets or sort of ways that kind of connect with them on how you communicate. And I feel like people are just sort of scared to do that or afraid to kind of put all their cards out on the table. But it's just kind of like, well, what are you in a relationship for if you are not open enough to feel comfortable enough to even say how you feel or say what you really want, or even just to do just sort of check in, like, hey, you know, what I see that you've been acting differently lately, or, you know, how can we find better ways to do things together, or whatever the case may be. So I just feel like it's so important, effective communication. It's what keeps things going. And if you're quiet, or if you're not a good communicator, then you need to learn how to do that in different ways. It could be just writing something. Maybe if you write the person a poem, or you write something down on a piece of paper, because some people just have different ways of expressing themselves. But I feel like you should just learn how to do it in different ways so it can resonate with your partner.
Mel Money, what you say on this effective communication, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Jess as well as Henry. Communicate. I always mention the 4 communication styles, which I talk a lot about, which are the passive communication, the aggressive communication, the passive aggressive communication, and assertive communication. And the best one to keep the relationship healthy is assertive communication, because, you know, you're connecting with your partner on a much deeper level. You don't violate their rights. You state your own opinions in a respectful manner. And also this displays that a person has a high emotional intelligence, which evaporates arguments and replaces them with positive confrontations. But as you mentioned, Mo, communication is more than just verbal. 90% of communication is nonverbal. So to keep the relationship brand new, you want to show your lady that you love and value her. And an example of nonverbal communication would be to use your non-sexual energy, because that can keep the relationship passionate and compassionate at the same time. And for those that don't understand non-sexual energy, I'm referring to, I don't know, one day just sit on the couch for like an hour and watch Power or a Lifetime movie, you know what I'm saying, and just cuddle up with her. But it pretty much just means not leading to you smashing her chocolate chip cookies. You know what I'm saying? It's just a way of just showing that you love and desire her when you just don't show her that you want to use her as a sex toy. She doesn't feel like she's a sex toy or your recreational purpose only. So I would suggest to my brothers and sisters out there to include physical aspects like touching, caressing, kissing. This also includes quality time alone. And I'm not just referring to celebrated days like Valentine's Day or Christmas Eve. I'm talking about just doing on days just because. That's it. And as long as you have that, that would definitely keep the relationship strong and much better.
Intimacy, man. Intimacy. My man Henry wants to bring something in. Henry, hit him up, baby.
And when we talk about effective communication, and just to back up everything the whole panel has been talking about, there's a big difference in between a reaction and a response. A reaction is something that's physical, based off of stimulation that's outside of you. In the Bible, we talk about we don't respond to flesh and blood. We respond to municipalities. And basically what that means is that I'm not going to react to what you did, what you're doing. I'm going to react. I'm reacting to what you're saying. I'm only giving you a response based off of what you said. Giving you a reaction based off of what you said. So you gave me a physical reaction, so I'm going to give back a physical reaction. What a response is that a response is thought out. It means that I listened to what you said, I took in what you said, and now based off of that and based off of how I feel, is how I'm going to answer you. So we react instead of responding. And so rather than to react to what was said, we need to go to the heart of the matter and why it was said, as opposed to our reaction of what was being told to us.
Man, listen. Message. Listen. That's the message right here. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in about a minute. Everybody sit tight. You with DBDS Live.
Are you single? Do you know about DBDSsingles.com? Are you ready to meet a quality man or a classy woman? The DBDS brothers want you to know that love and loyalty still exists. So if you're ready to meet relationship-ready people, sign up for a free trial. DBDSsingles.com, where quality men meet classy women. If you would like to learn how to establish and maintain long-term meaningful relationships, join DBDS University today. You will learn about interpersonal relationships, first date tips, the relationship zones, emotional intelligence, and more.
Say thank you to my big brothers, Mel and Mo, for creating the DBDS University with the live, the book, the website. It's helped me so much grow as an individual.
Back in the studio. If y'all didn't recognize that girl, you know who that girl was? Y'all know who that was? Oh, it was you.
That was me. Oh,
I'm shocked. Hey, y'all, listen, man. My man Henry made the promo, and my girl Jess did the video. Amazing, man. Thank y'all, man. Really appreciate that. Yes. So, DBDS University. Join, just told y'all, man, this stuff works, man. There's one thing I said on one of our previous shows is that relationships is a science, man. It's not something you can just jump in and think you know how to do it. It's almost like baking a cake, right? Let's say you never baked a cake. You think you can just get in the kitchen and just do it without even reading instructions? Your cake gonna come out jacked, man. You know what I mean? It might not even come out right. So listen, you gotta read up, study up, man. This is what this is all about. All right, we in the studio. We talking about keeping your relationship brand new and fresh. All right. So we're going to go to our next topic. Next topic is understanding that men and women are very different. This seems like a real simple topic, but a lot of people get this confused. And the only thing I'm going to say about these differences is I want to give you kind of a visual of what I think about it. Then I'm going to go to my panel and let them spit that fire at you. Think about this. You're an individual. Okay. So think about, you got a circle. You're individual, you're in your circle, 100%. You like what you like. And there's another person. They got their circle, 100%. They like what they like, okay? Men and women are different, right? Now, when you guys come together, my philosophy is 20% of those circles should overlap, and you guys find your common space, the things you like together. But you still got your own stuff. She still got her own stuff, and you still work together as a team. And that's what it means when I say men and women are different. If you recognize that, then you won't end up in a situation where you completely overlap and one of you is going away. All right. So we're going to go down to my man, Mel Money. Mel Money. We're talking about this here. We're talking about understanding that men and women are very different. Help me put some information on this so we can understand how to keep the relationship brand new and fresh.
Well, before I give you my input, I'd like to give some shout outs to the DBDS family. So we got Freddie Lopez, we got Cassie Cubana, we got Preston, we got Dewan, we got Sandy, comment was made by Freddie. He said, "Hey brother, love the show. And yes, one must love and respect oneself because the world will see how to respect you on how you put yourself out there." So fire. I'm going to continue to read some comments. So my input on this is that my perspective on this is that we were not created to be equal. We were created to balance each other. And, I kind of view relationships like ballroom dancing, right? I mean, I think about it, in the social part in dance, like the waltz or the tango, because the object is two people to achieve that goal, to dance as one. In this setting, someone has to lead, which is the man, and someone has to follow that person's lead, which is the woman. And if both try to follow, nothing happens, and the couple, they do not move. But if they both try to lead at the same time, their contradicting leads will cause a lack of coordination. Like there'll be elbows and people slipping and falling. So in this context, the man should always lead in a loving, respectful way and value his queen input to inspire his action. In other words, the man is masculine and the woman is feminine. And this is, I feel, it's a nice, delicate balance between the two. And this is what keeps the relationship growing.
Henry, my man, we talking about understanding that men and women are different. What's your take?
Mel's exactly right. Men and women were not created to be the same because God didn't create them the same. Man, the word says that Eve was made to complement Adam because Adam cannot be alone by nature. So one was made to complement the other. And so men and women are, and you gave a perfect example of overlap. Men and women are individuals, but yet the way marriages are, the way the relationships come about is that you find a common ground between the two, but yet respect the fact of who they were before they met you, as opposed to who you want them to be. Because if you want them to be a certain way, then they weren't really meant for you to begin with. You can't take me out of my character to satisfy your character.
Jess, men and women are different. If you understand that, you can keep your relationship fresh and new.
Yes. It says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Go ahead, girl. Go ahead, girl.
Right now. So I believe that I've never lost sight of what being a woman is, and I never wanted to be a man. So I believe that whole aspect of fairy tales and being the princess or the queen and the knight of the shining armor and that whole aspect, because it's important to me, and that understanding of unconditional love. And I had a father, and understanding that I grew up in sort of a weird dynamic in my childhood, not really having that leadership early on, and how important that is. But now that I've grown and I've read enough and I've gone through the DBDS university and I've experienced what I've experienced, I understand that I yearn for that love, but that leadership, that someone to take over that role, especially being a single mother. It's even hard enough trying to find the balance of, okay, do I discipline? I'm mad, I'm angry, put on my manly voice, or do I, I nurture, I'm gonna kiss you, I love you, to have that balance. And I think it's so important to understand that we are different, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with knowing that, because when people look at like this whole submissive nature, they think of like, oh, I gotta bow down, and it don't look at it like that. I'm your support system, because look at, let's say for example, LeBron James and his wife, a good example, or Obama and Michelle, people like that. I mean, yeah, the men are out there doing their thing, but back home, somebody doing some good cooking, okay? Somebody's holding it down. Someone is maybe handling the money. Someone's got their little hustle going on. But then we can come together and we can kind of balance each other. And I feel like too many people are trying to play the same role. Like as if like, okay, I'm in a relationship with a guy, so I'm trying to be the guy. And no, let him be him. Let him be the man. You be the woman. Don't lose sight of your feminine nature. He can't lose sight of his masculinity, and that's what makes it all the sexy. That makes it sexy anyway. It's sexy when a man is a man and he knows how to be one, and he knows how to lead you the right way with good intentions and all those things. So I think that people too lose sight of that, and I feel like society now is trying to, with these smoke screens, trying to change this agenda and mixing things up when that's not the case. From the beginning, let's do old school, Adam and Eve from the beginning. Rib, like, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. The wheel has already been made, so it's up to you on how to play your cards right, so that you can get the right leader in order to lead your household the right way.
Mel Money.
Thank you.
Man, that was fly. I mean, here's another thing, and I agree with everything Jess said, but not knowing our difference can create disappointing relationships. For example, the most common relationships today, especially in our neighborhoods, is the mother-child relationship. And this imbalanced relationship forms the man as a son and the woman as a surrogate mother. And this places a lot of burden on a woman to be more masculine than her counterpart. And slowly over time, she'll begin to resent that brother, because if he's not playing his part as being a leader, a provider, or a protector, then she's going to lose respect for him. And if she loses respect, then it's impossible to love him. So this is why I tell brothers to listen, have a purpose in life. In other words, take responsibility for your thoughts and actions, and always take a risk at doing something, and just, have faith that when you take that risk and you jump over the cliff, your parachute is going to open. Trust me.
Boom. Henry, my man.
And just to back up what Jess was talking about, just so know, when she's touching on scripture right there, it does specifically say, he who finds a woman has a good thing. It also says that Adam named the woman Eve because she is the mother of all living things. That's the reason why we get the term Mother Nature, because it is the woman who takes care of everything that's being given to her. So she has direct dominion over everything, and it is the man's responsibility to make sure that dominion stays intact, because the blessings go through him and then goes through the rest of the family.
Man, this is
I tried to tell y'all, man, at the beginning of the show. Y'all don't be listening, man. I try to tell you. All right, listen, man. We got to keep this rolling, man. We got some fire. We doing it right here. We talking about how to keep your relationship brand new. We just talking about, understanding that men and women are very different. We're going to go into our next subject. And now we want to talk about get yourself as a relationship, get yourself a regular tune-up. Okay. I know some of y'all thinking, but we ain't talking about that. We talking about get yourself a regular tune-up. Okay. What that means is this. Maybe, listen, the thing a lot of people don't get is that relationships are dynamic, because people are dynamic. You're going to change every day. It may be ever so slightly, but from the time you're 20 to the time you're 40, trust me, you're going to want different things. Peace becomes very important by the time you get 40. When you're 20, you might not even care. But when you get 40, it's primary. It's top on the list. Trust me on that one. So the deal is this. Maybe when these things change, you might need to go together and get counseling. Okay, you might need to go together and get counseling to recalibrate your relationship. All right. Maybe you two can read a book together. Read a book together, have a discussion with her. Maybe, you can go to do a hobby, find out which one of you have a hobby, right? And do that together. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it means by give your relationship a tune-up. I'm coming to you, Mel Money. Talk to me about getting this tune-up, brother.
You know what? I personally don't believe this one is necessary, as long as you are the best version of yourself and you're constantly improving yourself every day. But this is interchangeable for the sake of this context. I would say, if you're the type of man or woman who continues to pick the same type of low quality people in your life, then you will never graduate to attract high quality people or prepare yourself for better opportunities until you learn your lesson from your previous, I would say, dysfunctional relationship. And this is where the regular tune-up or regular counseling comes into play, whether it be going to DBDS University, or taking advantage of your employee assistant program, which most jobs do offer, and that's free counseling sessions. Or maybe you can go to meetup.com and meet somebody who experienced what you've been through, and they can become a good emotional support system. So, I would say, that whole take me as I am approach, you got to erase that concept in your mind and just always constantly improve yourself to become a better version. Because when you become a better version, you will attract a better version of the opposite sex.
Jess, the car is not running good. We need a tune-up. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, first and foremost, when I first heard that question, I had to check in and make sure what type of tune-up we was talking about. Because sometimes you gotta change the brakes, new oil, tires, rotors, whatever. But in regards to that, I'm a business person. I've sold cars before. Like, I have a business savvy mind. I have my own LLC, things like that. And even when you're working for a company, there's a time where you can do like a pay increase, or they may do sort of like a company reevaluation or whatever. But I don't want to say in a sense where you're going to lose your job, but sort of you're getting promoted in a sense. I think sometimes I don't think there's anything wrong with doing a check-in with somebody. And that goes back into like the whole communication aspect, just checking in like, hey, we had a great year. We accomplished so much. We did so many things. We went to a lot of the places that we want to go. Do you feel like, we're on the right track? Is there anything that maybe over the year that we could have done better? Or is there anything that maybe that you haven't communicated to me that I should know about that we should work on? And I feel like that's just within itself, just to kind of do those regular check-ins. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to ask them, hey, is there anything that we can improve on? Or can we maybe expand, like Mo said, do a hobby, take a cooking class and all that stuff. And all these things are accessible, and people are just looking at such a small scale. Go to Eventbrite, go to Groupon, go to all these webs, go to Facebook. They got events. I'm going to Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence is coming to DC next Friday. I'm going there. Me and my boo, my new boo. I'm gonna tell y'all about that in a second. But we find things to do, and we're constantly checking in with each other to make sure that we doing everything that we can do to be the best people that we are. Read a book together. Reading. People don't read enough. Read. Stop looking at the TV. Love and Hip Hop is not going to save you, sis, bro. It's not going to save you. Read a book. Read something that's going to intellectually stimulate your mind. So when you get home, you can be like, I read something today. I need to tell you something. You're like, what you got to say? Oh, I read something. And it brings you two together. It creates that intimacy. Now you have something else to communicate than what your job. Oh, I had a bad day again. I don't want to hear that every day. You had a bad day because you hate your job so much. Or just something to talk about, something to communicate, a refresher. Oh, I read about relationships and on some ideas that we can do to intimacy in the bedroom or whatever, something that you can communicate to your partner as a tune-up. Or if you do have to go to counseling, they have these open seminars for people in relationships on how to do things better. But if you're already in a place, like Mel said, if you guys are already on the right track, you may not have to do all that. Hopefully you don't. If you go through the right steps, friend zone, intimacy zone, zone, we gonna but
1, 2, 3, follow it.
If you follow it, you maybe gotta go to counseling. But if you didn't, you may just have to. But at the same time, like I said, I think there's nothing wrong with checking in, but read, stimulate your mind, do the hobbies, go online, go to Google, what's going on in my area, find something so y'all can have a reason to sit down and communicate and do those check-ins.
Boom. Hey, listen, I call it the relationship refresh, but we're talking about getting the tune-up. Henry, my man, we talk about the relationship refresh, the tune-up. Talk to me.
Now, with my brother Terrell, I always believe that there's always room for improvement, and there's always room to get a check-in, so to speak, like you guys have been talking about. And you live your best version of yourself. You keep reinventing yourself because you have to check in with yourself. You can't get the best version of yourself if you don't take stock in what's going on. Like Miss Jess said, as a business, when you started your business, the climate doesn't stay the same throughout because the climate changes. Outside stuff changes, so you yourself have to adjust for the change. Now, let's take a car, for example. I don't care if it's a Jeep Cherokee, because I love Jeeps, or if it's a Phantom. At some point, that car has to go in for a tune-up, simply because as time goes on, things break down, and you have to check in with it just to make sure it's running the way it's supposed to run. Your doctor tells you, you're fine, you're healthy, I'm glad that you are, but check in with me every 6 months. If we can check in with the doctor every 6 months, if we can get a tune-up every 3,000 miles, why can't we go to a third party and say, hey, this is where I am, this is who I am now, and how do I take stock in what I'm going to be? Because, brothers and sisters, let's be real about this. When we say the word counseling, it's like, well, I don't need no counseling. There's nothing wrong with me. Well, how do you know if you don't get checked out?
And let me just add to this. It's not about something being wrong with you all the time. It's about something being right with you too.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So make sure you're doing the right thing, okay? Hey, y'all, we in DBDS Live. Okay, before we go to break, we got Jess. Just want to have a little comment. Go ahead, Jess.
And these two men right here, okay, obviously utilize them. Utilize the information. Mel, Mo. If I need some info, I just, I send Mel a text, or if you're on Facebook, just send him a message, and then he can probably evaluate some things. Obviously, he's not, he's not a counselor, but he counsels me, but it works for me. But maybe he can look at your situation and say, like, okay, Mel, this is where I'm at right now. Mo, this is where I'm at right now. What do you think? And then he can say, okay, maybe you should go seek counseling. So utilize these are resources. Use your resources to your advantage.
We'll be back in 1 minute. We got Mel. Mel want to add something. Go ahead, Mel. Then I'm coming to you, Henry. I'm coming to you. Go ahead, Mel.
No. I was just gonna say I want to just give a shout out to my peoples before we even go on break. So let me just get a quick shout out to Darina, Darren Bell, DVP's watching, my man Jarvis, Mr. Danny Steph, Lynette, Fabuloa, Colette. We're gonna name more. We're gonna go over some comments, but thank you for tuning in, everyone.
All right, Henry, last comment before we break.
Very quick. If everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing, we wouldn't have DBDS, would we?
Ooh. That's a hard pill to swallow. We'll be back in about 1 minute.
If you would like to learn how to establish and maintain long-term meaningful relationships, join DBDS University today. You will learn about interpersonal relationships, first date tips, the relationship zones, emotional intelligence, and more.
Say thank you to my big brothers, Mel and Mo, for creating the DBDS University with the live, the book, the website. It's helped me so much grow as an individual.
Are you single? Do you know about DBDSsingles.com? Are you ready to meet a quality man or a classy woman? The DBDS brothers want you to know that love and loyalty still exists. So if you're ready to meet relationship-ready people, sign up for a free trial. DBDSsingles.com, where quality men meet classy women.
Hey, back in the DBDS Live studio, we got Jess, we got Henry, my man Mel Money. Yes, we've been talking about keeping your relationship fresh and brand new, and we had a lot of fire. If you missed it, that's okay. It's going to play plenty of times during the rest of the week. All right, so check this out. We're going to keep going. We just talked about a situation where, let me see where we want to go to next. Let's go to, let your partner know that you're proud of his or her accomplishments. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about that. A lot of times I think things get looked over. There's a lot of, your people in your life are doing a lot of things. They're accomplishing a lot of things. Sometimes you just don't take the time to tell them. It matters in a big way. Coming to you, Henry. Talk to me about this one.
Your significant other, your husband, your wife should be your first, your biggest, and your best cheerleader.
Ooh.
There should be nobody, and I mean no one, who should know more about your significant partner than you do. Because if they didn't, if they're getting stuff from the outside, if they're getting attention from the outside, that's the start of a decline, which means that you weren't paying attention to your partner to begin with. Because if you did, you would know exactly what kind of man, what kind of woman you're with. And if they're accomplishing stuff, then you need to take the time out to say, you know what, you go ahead. I'm proud of what you're doing. It's enough. It's not one thing to say, go girl, go boy, whatever have you. Just to say it. You know what I'm saying? Tell them exactly what it is that you're proud of them. Tell them about their accomplishment, because not only do they love the praise, they know the praise is genuine. It's because you've taken stock in what they were trying to do.
Jess, tell me how great I am. I need to hear it.
You great. It's just the same thing with people who have kids. Like, we go to our kids' music class, or we go to their sports my daughter wants to run track or something like that, and we're there, we're that parent, we're screaming in the audience, yes, that's my baby, like, yes, she's gonna, don't she won, don't she beat all y'all, which was good. The same thing, I feel like that energy should be there with your partner, and people are not as involved as they should. You still should be hands-on, because I feel like if you're not doing that, somebody else, they could find a cheerleader in the audience from somebody else who's saying, I'm proud of you. And it's already hard enough on the outside of these walls, outside of where we live or where we work and things like that. We don't get those compliments. We don't get someone to say, okay, you're doing okay. Everything you're doing is great. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. And that's just, I think that's one of like just a love language within itself, like words of affirmation or something like that. Just continuing to just uplift somebody. Because we need that. I think just naturally as humans, we need someone to let us know that they care or they're happy for us. And they're involved too. Be involved. If they have an award ceremony or they got a promotion at work, how about let's have baby got a promotion. Ooh, we got to go to dinner, or I'm about to cook something nice, or proud of you. You're doing such a good job. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get it tonight. I don't know, but I feel like you should definitely just honor them and make them feel good about their accomplishments. Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, money.
I agree with everyone on the panel. My whole thing is it should be on a continuous basis. Like some people normally just portray this false image at the beginning just to try to get that person to commit to them, and they pretend to be the biggest supporter or cheerleader, with that in stake. So I say that love is a job with no retirement. And I tell my brothers, the courtship should never end. And, just to tie this on all together, a well-known psychologist named Dr. Jonathan Haidt, he broke down 2 different types of love. And, the first one is called passionate love. And the second one is called compassionate love. And the passionate love is related to like lust, which is like a physical attraction. It can be the barrier of lust. And to me, that is like the lowest form of love, because that's sort of like you're a drug addict addicted to blow. It's going to just be high for a few couple of years, but after that, the dust is going to settle, like the fire is going to fade. But when you have that compassionate love and you continue to praise your significant other with her accomplishments, that compassionate love is like, it's like vines. It's like it slowly grows over the years. And it's like that attachment caregiving system that both people can rely and trust and depend on. And like I said, the passionate love is like fire. It'll fade out eventually. Compassionate love is like vines that are growing and intertwining with one another. So the key element in order to continue to have that relationship grow, and besides praising your significant other for their accomplishments and everything like that, make sure that you have a little bit of passion as well as compassion put together. So that way that combination can keep the attraction level elevated.
There it is. Listen, let me warn you guys about something though. Here, this happened on another show, and it taught me something, and I just want to warn you guys about it. A lot of times, people who try to accomplish certain tasks, they get real good at it, and it's easy, it's effortless for them. And guess what? Now you think you don't have to say anything, but still praise them for getting that task done, even though it's easy for them. Don't let that bar. Don't say, okay, you set a new bar. Now I'm only gonna compliment you when you go above the bar. Do it all the time, folks. Trust me, it'll give you many returns. All right. Now we're gonna go into our next subject. We're talking about give what you want to get. Okay, if you want love, you got to give love. If you want intimacy, you got to give intimacy. Give what you want to get. Henry, talk to me.
There's a saying that goes, if I use the B word at a woman, well, guess what? The reason why she is the way she is because you gave her the broom to begin with. You are only going to get it. You're only going to get out what you put in. And so when you plant something, when you plant seeds into the ground and you nurture it and you water it and you fertilize it, then you're going to bring out and you're going to get the fruits of your labor. It's the same thing with relationships. If you keep feeding negative energy and keep feeding negative energy and keep feeding negative energy to your woman, and I'm going to speak specifically to the men, if you keep feeding negative energy to the woman and she comes back at you negative, well, what were you going to expect from her if all you fed her was negative energy? You have to nurture her just as if you were nurturing, just as we go back to the car analogy, just as you take that car to the car wash, you get the buff, you get the wax, you get the polish and all that good stuff. Take care of your woman the same way.
Ooh, nice. Wow,
Fire.
man. Killing me, man. Killing me. We're coming to you, Jess. Talk about, you got to give what you want to get. You got to give it.
What you put out in the world is what you get in return, and what you think and what you speak out it's dangerous. And said the tongue is a weapon, so you got to be careful on what you say and how you use it, and do unto your neighbors you want to be done by. But the same thing applies to your partner. And people keep putting this love and respect thing on as the same thing. Like, respect is so important, and if you just throw the respect out of the window, somebody can say they love you but they still punch you in the face, so they ain't got no respect for you. Like, but I love you, but I'm gonna punch you. Like, what? But at the same time, like, I think what you put out in the world with anything is what you can get back. So it's important to know who you are as a person and know what you want to receive back from the other side. Because it's all a buildup, and people will notice that. And I think that if you keep, like he said, keep putting out negative energy, it's going to respond. Then you got the Diary of a Mad Black Woman over here because you beat her up a couple times, you brung her down, you disrespected her, or vice versa. Women do the same thing, keep making men, demasculating him, or whatever the case may be. So it's important to know what you're putting out into the world and what you want the person to respond back with.
Man, I say every show, I learn something and I come up with a new philosophy. And this show, at this very moment, I came up with this philosophy and this idea, and it's this right here. If you call somebody, if you're in a relationship and you call your woman or your man a jackass, you better look in the mirror, because it's reflecting back at you. Something, you put out something to make them that way. You know what I'm saying? So, Mel Money, talk to me on this one, man. You got to give what you want to get.
Oh, yeah. But before I even do that, I want to give a shout out to Love Tasha. Rondell, he just tuned in. Gina Ferguson stated at Jess Tattoo and Henry, celebrating personal growth and becoming relationship ready. So I will continue to give some shout outs throughout the show. Listen, this is where the rules of engagement comes into play, which means setting personal expectations of what you want out of the relationship. So in other words, you must determine what it is that you're looking for in a relationship. And I'll go back to that car analogy. You can love your car to death, but in return, you expect your car to get you from point A to point B. But if you don't know what that car needs, or if you're not giving it what it needs in order to get you to your destination, then that car is going to break down, just like Henry stated. So in order for a healthy relationship to last and work, you need to give what you want to get and know what your significant partner needs in order to get that love in return.
Yo, here it is right here. We got about 2 minutes. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, about a minute and a half. When we come back, we're going to do our Jerry Springer moment. Everybody get their final summary that you want to talk to your DBDS people. We'll be right back in a moment.
If you would like to learn how to establish and maintain long-term meaningful relationships, join DBDS University today. You will learn about interpersonal relationships, first date tips, the relationship zones, emotional intelligence, and more.
Say thank you to my big brothers Mel and Mo for creating the DBDS University with the live, the book, the website. It's helped me so much grow as an individual.
Are you single? Do you know about DBDSsingles.com? Are you ready to meet a quality man or a classy woman? The DBDS brothers want you to know that love and loyalty still exists. So if you're ready to meet relationship-ready people, sign up for a free trial. DBDSsingles.com, where quality men meet classy women.
What up? What up? Back in the DBDS live studio, man. We had a crazy show, man. We got fire emojis everywhere, man. We were spitting some crazy knowledge. Go back, review the tapes, take down notes, do whatever you got to do. It will help you. Trust me on that one. We at that moment right now where we're gonna do our Jerry Springer moment, and I'm coming right to my man Henry to give his final words to the DBDS people. Henry, hit the people off.
The Bible says that life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so what happens is that what you feed out into the world, as Miss Jess just alluded to, what you feed out in the world is what you're going to get back into the world. You're going to get back into yourself. So my brothers and my sisters, if you want us to come up, then you must bring us up, not just with your actions, but with your words as well.
Whoo. Miss Jess, hit them up, man. This is your final Jerry Springer moment. Let the people know what you got to say.
Well, just a few things. Number one, Miss Lauryn Hill, she did a MTV Unplugged back in 2002, and she wrote a song called Mr. Intentional. And on one of the lines in the song says, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, meaning a good intention is meaningless unless it's followed by a good action. So you may start off in something, but if a good action is not followed behind it, then it's meaningless. And like I said, I was on a road of just completely being lost, dealing with all the wrong people. And I had to self-evaluate. I had to find self-love. And I stopped looking. I stopped trying to find that person, and I didn't even I was looking for a person and I didn't even know myself. And when I stopped looking, never underestimate the power of coffee. I was going to get coffee and someone stopped me, and that ended up being the person that I went through the 3 zones with. And me and this person dated for months, and we never even thought about being physical on any type of level. We just sat there and we've slept with our minds. Our minds slept with each other. We literally had the most intellectual, stimulating conversations every night. We talk, and I literally in this book I write down. Have a notepad. Write down your thoughts. Write down what makes you tick. Write down what's important to you. A quote. It could be anything, and you build upon that. And now I can have things to reference back into, and I things to look over. And when I met that person and I was at that breaking point where I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? I laid down my rules of engagement. I said what I wanted from the beginning, and he already knew that. He knew what I wanted, and I stand firm on that to the end. It was the Ravens playing the Titans, okay? And the Ravens lost. And that's when he said, you know what? I got something to tell you. And I said, what? He said, you going to be my lady? And I said, yes. Oh, yes. Physical sound, but still. At the same time, but it took me a while to get there. It took me calling Mel. I don't know what I'm doing. This is a tough one. Mel's is like logic, Jess. This is what you got to do. Stop getting emotional. Get it together. So it takes that, but it takes you to love yourself first in order for somebody else to love you. Now I'm finding my person throughout the process. Third thing. I use Google Docs. We use Google Docs to write down our goals. We sat in a tea and tonic place for about 2 hours and wrote what our goals for 2020. This is a new era. It's time to change. It's time to set a different bar for yourself. Stop trying to stop living to these old standards in the past years. Live to a new standard. You have a new way of thinking. I say I'm gonna read this new book for this year. I'm going to talk differently this year. I'm going to let go of all these old demons and stop inviting more. Because, I mean, it's just, we only get one life. Only one. So at least let me spend it in complete and utter bliss. Let me find understanding. Let me find unconditional love. Let me love myself. And let me explore things I haven't explored before. And it may seem far-fetched and it may seem cliche, but it is all those things. And I wish that for all these brothers and sisters out here. You gotta want more for yourself, and it will come to you when you're not looking. Love will find you. That right person will find you when you least expect it. So just hold on. Tough times don't last. Robert Schuller said, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And we gotta be tough. Because everybody out here, there's a lot of bad people, a lot of confused people trying to knock you down, abuse you, hurt you, all those things. But you got to say, you know what? I'm not done. This ain't going to, I didn't die from that. This disease didn't kill me. Him punching me in the face didn't break me. Whatever the case, whatever you're going through, This is why this DBDS is established here to keep the fight going. So you gotta want that for yourself. They can only give you but so many tools, but you gotta choose. There's only right, left. Which one are you gonna choose now? So use the tools, use it to your advantage, use your resources, and fight. If a man he'll let you know if he don't want you or not. Mm-hmm. He'll let you know. She'll let you know. I could go on and on for days, but
it sounds like we're at a crossroads, and you help the people figure out which way to go. I love it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying you gotta use the tools. You gotta keep up the fight, because there are people out here who are literally trying to ruin people, and they're lost. And they're gonna come into your life in all different aspects, all different places. There's all the past exes, the toxic people, but you gotta learn to shut those people off and know what you want. Because the devil comes in all shapes and forms, and that's just straight up, and that's just real. So
watch out, no doubt.
I just want to say,
I love y'all. Yes, I love y'all.
Love you too. And
go ahead, Mel Money.
Well, just to piggyback, Jada just stated, "Yes, Jess," and a lot of people, embrace that absolutely. And but before we part ways, I just want to thank you, Jess, for being a part of the journey and being, part of the family. You are family. And to you, Henry, thank you, brother, for all your amazing insights. So I'm just going to finish this off that I believe that true love is made in the oven compared to being made in the microwave, because it takes a lot of time to work and create love. And this is why having a clear focus of guiding values, principles, and priorities are extremely important to get the kind of relationship you desire. So in order to keep the relationship brand new, you must continue to remain flexible. You must continue to be engaged with your partner, try new and exciting things, stimulate each other's minds, just like Jess said, sleep with the mind, and pray together. This way your relationship will remain fresh. Thank you.
Boom. Hey, listen. I want to thank Jess and Henry, man. It was a pleasure. I told y'all, man, every show I learned something new. Y'all helped me. I got taught so much. I felt like I've read a whole book just hanging out with y'all, man. Amazing. Learned so much. So listen, what I want to say is this. My final words are this. Don't follow the status quo. Status quo is garbage. You know what I'm saying? Do your own thing. Figure out your own way. Figure out what works for you, what works for her, what works for him. You know what I'm saying? Listen. I'm going to take a page right out of Mel's book. Mel is the kind of guy that'll take his woman horseback riding. See, I know some of y'all can't get with that, right? But this brother would take his woman on a carriage-drawn, white horseback riding, wearing purple Timbs. You know what I'm saying? Come out the box, man.
Thank you,
y'all got to get it. You do something different. You know what I'm saying? Go on a picnic. Have a little beach picnic, whatever it is, just do something different. I know maybe it's not your style, but guess what? Got to come out the shell, baby. Got to do something new. Mel Money, set us off.